Someone once said we're 10% what happens to us, 90% how we react. So the true test of a man, woman, whomever you are, is in those times of adversity, in that time of struggle where it's gut check time. You know, you look at yourself in the mirror, you look within yourself, and it's like, I'm tough enough to handle this, or I'm going to crumble under pressure.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What's up, fellow Bindlers? We have an episode today that's going to unlock insight into your mind that you didn't even realize would be possible. Bill O'Brien met up with us to have a conversation, and it got real thoughtful. We talked about everything from his childhood, personal experiences, life as a professional athlete, creating 3+ businesses, and the all-encompassing mindset that fuels his passion for all of it. Bill O'Brien is a leader who lives by example, and it's definitely highlighted in the talk that we had today. The dude has unstoppable mindset that can transform any adversities in his way into an opportunity for positive growth. We're so fucking grateful to be able to talk with him today and share this incredible experience to all of you. So, without any more delay, let's get to it. BINDLISM, a philosophy to a self-sufficient lifestyle, episode 21, Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien. I remember the first time we didn't really meet. It was more like passing by.
Yep.
But I saw you at the Central Rock Gym, and we did a little head nod as we were walking by. But that was like the extent of like what I know you from, where I knew you from, and then I saw like your Instagram profile. Saw you were like big, like working in the community a lot, and you're trying to push positivity and your message by using like lacrosse.
Yep.
And you're kind of creating a life for yourself where you can like do what you love to do while at the same time pushing positivity. So if you want to start, I guess we can do like a little intro.
Cool.
About you.
Yeah, let's do it.
I guess we start there.
Bill O'Brien, professional lacrosse player for the last 5 years. Growing up, grew up south of Syracuse in Lafayette, New York. Went to Lafayette High School, played 3 sports there, football, ice hockey, lacrosse. My junior year, I received a scholarship to play college football at Sacred Heart University. It was always a dream of mine to play professional sports, right? Like I wanted to be a professional athlete. I played every sport I could at all times, always looking to compete physically against other people and kind of see where I stacked up. You know, something about sport and kind of showing the true character of a person I really like. So I played Division I AA football, Sacred Heart University in Connecticut. While there, I got 2 degrees, one in business administration, one in marketing. And after that, I went down to Miami to train for a pro day and a combine where I was going to show the pro scouts what I could do. I did my pro
What's
day.
The age range for this?
This is right out of college, so like
okay.
21. Yep. And
Big step.
yeah, huge step. And I gave it my all. I played pretty well. I trained hard and showed up at my pro day in great shape and performed well and got an invite from a former teammate, John Cordo, Buffalo Bill, to go train with the Buffalo Bills.
Oh, wow.
And I did that.
Wait, so this was for football?
Yeah, football.
Oh.
Yeah.
And now you're doing lacrosse?
Exactly.
What?
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. So, like I said, I just always competed, played college football, and then got into professional lacrosse. So when I went to the Buffalo Bills to kind of play and try to take a shot and playing in the NFL, it's cool because I got to spend time with a guy I looked up to at Sacred Heart University, John Cordo, He was playing for the Bills at the time. I got to stay with him and his wife, Jenny. And unfortunately, it didn't pan out. I didn't make the Buffalo Bills team. A little bit of adversity there. I didn't.
Well, you're so young, too.
Yeah, 21, young, fresh out of college. I decided that I would keep training. I would get a job, support my life and keep training and give it a shot the following year. So I moved to New York City. I was working for a tech startup company called ZocDoc, where I could actually use my business administration, my marketing degree, put it kind of to work for me, test the 9-to-5 life, see if I like the rat race and the grind. And in New York City, no better place to do it, right? It was a grind. I would wake up at like 4:30 a.m., train in the morning, go to the office, work until like 8 p.m., and literally
nonstop.
It was just nonstop all day. Did that for about a year. I was good at it. I got a couple promotions while I was there. It was a lot of fun, great team atmosphere, but I always had that itch to compete, play sport.
Professionally.
Exactly. So what I did was I ended up quitting. I made a decision that I'm going to go try to play professional lacrosse. And
with no experience?
I played in high school, but I didn't play in college. That was one thing where I actually, as a freshman, I tried out for the hockey team at Sacred Heart, who has a really great hockey team. And I remember my football coach calling me into the office. He's like, "You're on scholarship. What are you doing trying to play hockey?" And I was like, I just thought it'd help me stay in shape. I always play a ton of sports. And he didn't like that, so I had to just dedicate my time to football.
Oh, man. Okay.
So I moved back home from New York City and picked up my lacrosse stick again. And in this same time frame, I decided to start a company with my best friends, cousins, the Thompson Brothers, where I started Thompson Brothers Lacrosse. And grew that company. It was essentially a lacrosse company that I negotiated a deal with Nike, which I'm really proud of. I'm a Nike athlete. Those guys are Nike athletes. We were looking to change the game of lacrosse, blow it up, make it huge. And,
for Syracuse specifically?
Globally.
Global.
Yeah. Wow. And one of the cool things about lacrosse that not many people know is lacrosse is a Native American sport. So lacrosse is believed to be a gift given from the Creator for the people as a form of medicine. So if played with exactly. So if played with a clear mind, if given all you got, it is for the spectators watching and for the players, it's medicine. It heals people, heals communities. Lacrosse is part of the religion in Onondaga, which is a reservation about 12 miles south of here. And every spring, there's a medicine game. It's essentially a lacrosse game with no pads, the old kind of game, wooden sticks, and it's played as a renewal ceremony, right?
And this is done every year here?
Yep, in Onondaga. And it's a renewal ceremony, basically giving thanks for all the new growth that's going to come in the spring.
For life.
Yep, exactly, and kind of saying, see you later to winter, if you will. So with our company, Thompson Brothers Lacrosse, it was our goal to show people that lacrosse was a Native American sport. And if played with the right mind and played the right way, it can be a form of medicine. And build a brand around that. And during that same transition, I was playing for the Onondaga Redhawks, which is a box lacrosse team. Senior B, essentially semi-pro men's league, basically. Okay. And we won the National Canadian Championship that same year in 2014. Well, that same time, there were scouts from the pros watching the games. And one of my good friends, Joe Taylor, he was the head of Nike Lacrosse at one point, and now he's like U.S. manager for Lens Crafters or some optical company. Either way, he played lacrosse at Cornell, and he called me and he's like, "Hey, Bill, I think you could play in the professional league. I gave your name and number to one of my buddies. He's going to call you." Well, I get a call from Mike French, who's a lacrosse legend. They call him Mr. Canada. He played field, he played box, he does it all. He's an owner of a professional team now called me and he was like, "Hey, Bill, I would love for you to come try out with us. There's definitely your skill set. You know, I'm big. They were looking for a big, strong defender who could toughen up the back end. Box lacrosse is a very physical sport. Cross-checking legals, fighting's legal.
Wow.
It's like hockey, essentially, but on feet, no skates. Either way, long story short, I ended up making the team, playing in New England for 3 years. I got released after year 3. Faced a little bit of adversity there, and then ended up getting picked up by the Buffalo Bandits. Now I'm playing in the Arena Lacrosse League, the ALL, with the St. Catharines Shockwave. We're undefeated 11-0 this season, so that feels good. That feels good. But yeah, that's kind of a glimpse at my journey, where I come from, and basically the spark notes of it.
And where you're at now.
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're still playing out of Syracuse?
So right now,
semi-pro league?
So right now I'm playing for the Onondaga Redhawks this summer. That starts, season starts in April. But currently I'm playing for the St. Catharines Shockwave. Actually, last night I was out in Canada. I had a game in Six Nations at the ILA, the Iroquois Lacrosse Arena. So a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
A lot of traveling.
A lot of work.
Yeah, definitely
Hustling.
worth it. Yeah. That's the grind, baby. That's the grind.
And you seem to enjoy it.
Yeah, I do.
Embrace it.
You have to. Otherwise, I would hate what I do. I can tell you, I always look back at the ZocDoc job. Great paying job. A lot of fun. Stable, yeah. But at the end of the day, it wasn't what I was passionate about, so I could never fully immerse myself in doing it.
And grow in it.
Exactly. So if you're not able to dive in and give it all you have, is it really worth doing? And that's kind of what I question myself now. I love lacrosse. I love the message that lacrosse can spread.
And you're able to do that with your company too.
Exactly. And now I'm at a point where I've dove into so many different things. I've stepped away from Thompson Brothers Lacrosse. Oh, okay. I started 3 other companies. I started a nonprofit organization called the Aspire Project, which provides sport for underprivileged youth. Essentially, I'm passionate about sport. I know what kind of values it can instill in young people, from teamwork, from coachability, from perseverance, facing adversity. So I want to share that with the youth that don't have access to sport.
That's huge.
Exactly. And then I started a company called Thrilla Nation, which is essentially my personal brand, if you will. It's a media company that partners with larger companies and creates content and finds creative ways to collaborate. And then lastly,
things like Nike.
Yeah, exactly. So I do work with Nike. I've worked with Vitamin Shop, CBS Sports. I've done things with DraftKings, a huge company in New York City called Open Sponsorship. I do a lot with them too. So
they're just like the sports community in general.
Yeah,
kind of like the interconnection.
Exactly,
all of those.
And it's a way for me to organize kind of and make tangible the business aspect of what I'm doing, right?
Yeah. Practicality to the vision of what you want to do.
Exactly. So just like any other company, I have a plan in place, and I'm working towards that plan because that plan, if executed properly, helps me accomplish that vision that I have. So Thrilla Nation is just another step towards that. And then the third company I started is Apex Nutrition Group, which is a supplement company. We have an all-in-one pre-workout formula called Alpha Formula. And that was kind of a passion project that was sparked out of my own experimentation and the necessity I saw for a clean pre-workout with all the ingredients I need, no preservatives, no artificial flavors, no artificial colors. Yeah. Nice. And built specifically for athlete, built specifically for me, to be honest.
Right.
I was taking like 3 or 4 supplements before training, and I was like, man, why do I have to take all this different stuff? I'm buying 4 bottles. I'm buying, spending all this money. And for me, it's important to perform at peak performance, right? So I can't have proprietary blends that I don't know what's in the product. I can't have artificial colors, artificial flavors that I don't know what's doing to my body. So for the past 2 years, I researched and developed a all-in-one pre-workout formula with 14 ingredients, no proprietary blends, that help build muscle, help increase your recovery time, and help allow for better performance, so muscular endurance, things of that nature. All properly dosed, too. So you're going to get 3.2 grams of beta-alanine. You're going to get 2 grams of creatine. You're going to get your 5 grams of BCAAs. And all the research shows, all the research shows what gives you the best response, is the amount that's in there, which you don't find with supplements because everyone's trying to cut costs and just mass produce and make it a volume business. And like I said,
you're about performance.
Out of necessity, quality. I created this product for me, right? So if no one else wants it, that's fine because I'm going to be taking it regardless. But if you want to elevate your game and increase your performance, then I recommend it. But at the end of the day, it's to each his own, right? But I knew I needed something better. I needed something that I knew what was in it and I knew how it was manufactured. So
yeah, and you're the biggest supporter for that brand.
Exactly.
Because you brought it up from a baby to what it is now.
Exactly.
And hopefully continue growing.
Yep.
What gave you the idea initially to get into that specifically?
So I train as a professional athlete. I'm training 3-4 hours a day, right? My body is the vehicle that I do work in, right? So I have to be big, fast, strong. I have to be in great condition. And there are times when I feel beat down, I feel run down, from whether it be from traveling, from the other endeavors I do. So sometimes I need a pick-me-up, and coffee wasn't going to do it. And then there's supplements that I always look to, like creatine, help build muscle. It naturally occurs in your body, but it allows for more muscular energy. So if you can supplement with that, essentially you should be able to build muscle faster. So there were things that I was taking at the time that I thought were great supplements, but I would always have to supplement with something to make it what I needed. So I would take creatine. Exactly. I would take 2 grams of creatine pre-workout, but then I would drink a cup of coffee for the caffeine to help get the blood flowing, and then I'd sip some beta-alanine during my workout mixed with BCAAs, and that's a lot of work, right? And in my head, I was like, man, there's got to be an easier way.
Yeah, all-in-one.
So created an all-in-one, and most supplement companies don't like all-in-ones because, think about it, if they could sell you 5 different products at a $25 price point as opposed to one at a $49.99 price point, their bottom line is going to improve if they're selling 5 products every month.
Yeah, it's a business, whereas you're more of like trying to spread the message,
exactly,
the vision behind what you want to do with your life and give it back to the community.
Yep.
So you have a lot of different pieces with this. You have so many businesses that you're working on, things you've accomplished. And in a sense, if you look at it just as its own, it could be almost like, why is he doing that? It doesn't make sense. But like, what is your grand vision that's kind of connecting all of these things together?
Yeah, at the end of the day, from my perspective, it's all interconnected. I train daily, right? Why not make a supplement that is going to help me increase overall performance? Apex Nutrition Group, Alpha Formula. I speak at events all the time. For instance, today I did a career day at GRB in Fulton, where I basically just talked about what it takes to be a professional athlete, entrepreneur, influencer, if you will, in certain
creative artists.
Exactly, and shared that with the next generation, right? And kind of giving back is what all athletes, all people should really do, right? Once you get to a certain point where you've reached your own amount of success, whatever success that is, the next level of fulfillment is giving your time back and giving back to people and helping others, which oftentimes gets overlooked when people are on this path to success.
Because of the ego.
Exactly. And it's like, I want more, I want more, I want more. Well, to get more spiritually, it's about giving back. And that's where the Aspire project comes from. For me, it was like, okay, I want to give back. How do I do that the best way I know how? The Aspire project, right? So I can essentially hold events and teach sport and show lacrosse and what teamwork does and how being coachable will help you in life, at work, and other areas of your life, and how to overcome adversity. Yeah, the first time you pick up a lacrosse stick, you probably can't catch and pass. But with practice, hard work, and dedication, it's limitless what you'll be able to do with it. So that's where the Aspire project comes into play. And Thrilla Nation, that company kind of ties it all together. You know, it's a blend of my training. It's a blend of my give back. It's my opportunity to showcase kind of what I've been working on, what I've been doing. And from a kind of a business administration standpoint, it keeps everything organized for me.
True. Yeah.
So the ultimate vision is just to impact as many people as I can and keep kind of build this legacy. Yeah, build this legacy that, you know, my brother always says, you know, it doesn't matter how kind of what you say to people when you meet them. What they're going to remember is how you made them feel, right? And that kind of sticks with me a lot. I want to make people feel good. I want people to feel my energy when I walk into a room. I want people to feel like, man, this guy's fired up. I'm fired up. Like, let's go do something. Let's get it done. Let's keep grinding. Let's keep working. And I don't want to say it's easy, but it's easier for me because I decided to do things I'm passionate about, right? If I didn't care, if I was still wheeling ZocDoc and just doing it for a paycheck, then it's not real. It's not tangible. People don't realize, like, oh my God, he means it.
It's not fueling you.
Exactly. Like I get run down if that's the case. But I'm lucky enough that I'm passionate about doing this stuff. And at the end of the day, it provides me the opportunity to live a livelihood, create livelihood for myself and create a stream of income and do things that I want to do while helping others. Yeah. For me, there's no better way. So.
Yeah, it's huge. So powerful. So a lot of this stuff is values driven, like beliefs driven. What would you say kind of evoke that out of you? Because the place that you're at right now isn't what you were born. You weren't born with this grand vision of where you want to get to. But through development, personal growth, like where were you? Was there anything that clicked that got you into this realization?
Yeah, I mean, when I was younger, like I said, my older brother, he's an athlete just like me. He's bigger than I am. He was always kind of a good athlete, so I aspired to be like him. My dad, I got to go to some of his hockey games growing up. It was men's league hockey, but to me, when I was a kid, it's like, oh my God, this is like basically pro. I'm watching my dad play. But it's men's league at Lysander, you know, so it's like, but still really cool opportunities. And growing up, I always wanted to compete. I just had a very high energy where I wanted to be the best when it came to sport. And I wasn't always the best, but what I learned at a very young age is that I could work away from the game to become better. So let's say I pick up a lacrosse stick for the first time. I'm not the best player when I step on the field, but I would go home and I would hit the ball off the garage and just keep playing, working on my hand-eye coordination. Football, I remember I had to play, going into my senior year, I had to play tight end, right? And I hadn't played tight end, but my team needed me. My mom, I remember going out in the backyard for hours and my mom throwing me the football. Oh, wow. And me being in full pads, like a nut job. What are you doing running around in full pads? But I knew if I put the time in, the energy, the effort, I would get better.
Practice how you play.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, I think what's kind of molded my values and molded me into the man that I am is the adversity I faced, you know, and creating a very positive mindset when adversity rears its ugly head, if you will.
Because it will.
It's going to come. You know, you got to prepare for adversity. And today I told the kids at Fulton the same thing. I was like, guys, one of the takeaways, prepare for adversity. It's going to happen. It's not going to be easy. But if you can prepare for it and have a mental toughness to overcome it, you'll be better off for it. You know, someone once said we're 10% what happens to us, 90% how we react. So the true test of a man, woman, whomever you are, is in those times of adversity, in that time of struggle where it's gut check time. You know, you look at yourself in the mirror, you look within yourself, and it's like, I'm tough enough to handle this, or I'm going to crumble under pressure. It takes pressure to create diamonds. So you really gotta fight through the pressure. Gotta keep pushing forward. I was a pudgy kid when I was younger, you know, and I didn't like my body when I was like 13, 14. I was a kid who would jump in the pool with his shirt on and act like I got pushed in just so I could keep my shirt on. Which it's sad and it's funny, but at the same time, it was like, that was really an issue for me. You know, like I wasn't happy in my own skin. And I remember it got bad in like I said, 13, 14. And I was in my room and I was pretty upset, like crying. And I never cry, you know, but my mom came downstairs and she's like, what's wrong? What's going on? And I was like, I'm fat. I got boobs. Like, I'm not supposed to have boobs. And my mom would tell me, she was like, Bill, you got that extra
oomph.
Yeah, because you're going to grow up to be big and strong, right? And she's like, and if you're not happy with it, we'll just go work out and you'll get big and strong. You know, so that right there was a huge turning point for me. My mom taking the time and explaining that to me, and kind of, not only did she say, like, you can go work out, she's like, well, tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. before school, we will go work out together. We got gym memberships. We went to this gym up on Onondaga Hill. It was like a little barn, but it was a gym. And like from 14, 15, 16, every morning we were in the gym.
And she was always with you?
She would drive me. We would go. I would sleep in the car usually because it's like 5 a.m. We would drive, she would go work out, and she would just let me do my thing. And I started training, and that's kind of where I got the passion about,
and this was
training.
all on your own?
Yeah.
No coaching? No
coaching. And then once I got to be like 15, 16, I started to go to this place called Strength and Motion, owned by Corey Parker. Mm-hmm. He's actually the strength and conditioning coach now at SU. And he had this great program for kids, athletes, to elevate their game. Stuff I never did, like hang cleans, power cleans, heavy squats, things like that, what athletes should do. But that foundation of doing it on my own and kind of figuring it out and just diving in, because I was unhappy with myself, built a ton of confidence.
When you were 13, 14?
Yeah, built a ton of confidence for me. Showed me right there that any adversity I face, with the right mindset, I can overcome it. And with a little elbow grease and hard work, you can pretty much change your circumstances. Like I said, I was a fat kid, and my mom said, well, you're deciding to be that way. Let's go work out. Right there, taught me a life lesson.
In your own hands.
And from there, it's kind of just snowballed, And wow. I've faced a ton of adversity, going to college. I've moving away from home. Even in my work life, even for like professional sports, Buffalo Bills said I wasn't good enough, right? I didn't quit. I just attacked it with a positive mindset. And that's a lot more difficult to do than it is to say, right? Like, I just went at it with a positive mindset, right? That's not how it works. You really have to position yourself mentally to withstand that adversity. I got released. I was a fan favorite in New England in the National Lacrosse League, literally fan favorite. Got released because they wanted to go in a different direction. It was a surprise to me, my family, all the fans. They started a petition that had like 1,300 signatures in the first hour saying that they weren't going to renew their season tickets unless I got re-signed. Well, it got so bad where I had to write a letter to the fans, basically an open letter saying like, hey, I'm accountable for this. This is on me. I wasn't ready. I wasn't good enough. I wasn't what the team was looking for. Don't take away from the team, and pull your season tickets and things of that nature. Because at the end of the day, accountability is huge for me.
Yeah, it's a true act of character.
Exactly. And if you can't take responsibility and you can't be accountable for your actions, then what are you doing? We all have an opportunity.
Blaming people.
Yeah, and that's a terrible characteristic to have. The ability to man up or woman up, if you will, and say like, yeah, that was me. That's on me. My bad. Won't happen again. Right? There's a lot to be said for that. So that's kind of where the values sprung from. I guess I got to thank my mom and dad.
Yeah, definitely. They were always supportive of you early on.
Yeah, and that's I mean, even my brother. I'm grateful to have a family that has been very supportive. So
Is your family Onondaga?
my dad is, yeah.
Okay.
Yep, and then my mom's Irish, so.
Okay. Were you still in the territory? Is that what they call it? The reservation?
Yeah, the reservation. We live right off the reservation.
Okay.
Actually, one side of the street's reserve, and then the other side is U.S. territory, if you will.
And you were on the U.S. territory side? Oh.
Yeah, so there's no border, really, no fence or anything. It's kind of just an imaginary line. But,
Okay.
yeah, I...
Do you think that might have changed how your paths would have gone?
yeah.
Just that simple territory shift?
Definitely. One of the things, my dad, very hardworking man. He owns his own business, bridge construction. He's a provider, so a lot of my characteristics, I think, growing up, I got to learn from him and see how he, being the head of the household, seeing how he carried himself, what type of man he was. Man of his word. If he says he's doing something, he's going to do it. He doesn't put up with BS. Like he'll tell you if he thinks you're BSing him. So huge character guy. Can't speak highly enough of my dad. So I'm
super authentic too.
Yeah, and I'm lucky enough to have him be one of my heroes, one of my role models. At a young age, he grew up in the inner city, and
of Syracuse?
Yeah, Syracuse on the south side. He wanted to provide kind of a better opportunity, if you will, for us. So he moved out to the country. He likes land too. So, but whether we grew up in the inner city, whether we grew up on the reserve, both those environments, I think, offer different challenges. A lot of times on the reserve, there's rampant drug abuse, there's alcoholism, just like the inner city. Whereas the country, yeah, there's still that, right? But I think it's more sparse. And having a better opportunity for better schooling, Lafayette's a pretty good school. But I think definitely where I grew up helped me develop into the person I am. If I had grown up a mile down the road, it's becoming less common of a belief, but a lot of people from the reserve don't leave the reserve because they
tradition,
community, and it's like if you go off to college, they view it as you're kind of just forgetting about the community, right? So if I grew up there, maybe I don't go to Sacred Heart University, maybe I don't get 2 degrees, maybe I don't play football, so
many hypotheticals.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. And definitely like how the perspective you have on, doesn't matter where you end up growing up, but like the adversity makes you into the man that you can be. It's like taking a negative and shifting it into a positive, no matter what you go through. And amazing parenting.
Yep.
Without your parents, you might be going.
I don't think I'd be here. I don't think I'd be here.
Totally different path,
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, you soaked up those values like a sponge, and you are able to go through adversity because of it, So there's so many different variables, and it's crazy how all these variables kind of play into shaping you into the person that you are and creating the vision that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I'm huge on family, and the people you surround yourself with. I think that plays a huge role in the path that you're on. Unfortunately, it's your path and your path alone to walk, right? No one can walk your path for you, but you can be side by side with someone, right? Mm-hmm. Walking that path together. And I'm talking about my life path. I'm lucky enough to have my parents show me kind of what type of man to be. I surround myself with my brother because his loyalty's second to none. I can always count on him. I could call him now. He'd be here right now and say, what do you need? I'm here. You need help? My girlfriend, she's a good person at heart, very loving. I'm fortunate to have her in my life. So I got college buddies who I still talk to this day. I've been out of college for 7 years now. I still talk to them once a week, or as much as I can, because they're great people that I want to stay in contact with. So the people you surround yourself with is it's going to rub off on you, their energy, their emotion. Misery loves company. So if you surround yourself with miserable people, you're likely to be a miserable person.
Yeah, kind of like law of attraction stuff.
Exactly.
Into that belief. Interesting. But at the same time, you're going to be facing adversity. So you're going into misery as well. So it's like...
Only if you look at it as misery.
Okay.
Right? Every time when I got released, that initial feeling was, oh my God, like, now what? Kind of thing. Like shock, right? And I could have dwelled. I could have been miserable. I could have said, I'm not good enough. They're right. I should just hang it up now. Mm-hmm. I didn't. I said, well, this is a good challenge. Let me show them how good I am. Next time I'm going to be so good they can't ignore me, right? They can't cut me because I'm going to be so good. And what it came down to was more skill work, more become bigger, faster, stronger, again, because this is professional sport we're talking about. And develop my skill. Watch more film. Watch the best in the game and what they're doing and try to emulate that. Luckily for me, all the professional lacrosse games are videoed, right, and streamed, so I could watch that and say, okay.
What do I need to work on?
Exactly. Those guys are the best in the game. I'm going to copy them, right, and keep working at it. And then I get picked up by the Buffalo Bandits, and then I show them, hey, he isn't what we thought. He got released from New England. Oh, he can actually play, So, yeah, the initial adversity is going to come. Like I said, you got to prepare yourself for that. But when that adversity comes, if you look at it as misery, it's going to be misery. If you look at it as this is just an opportunity to show everyone how good I actually am, then it becomes an opportunity, and you take advantage of that. Exactly. You take advantage of that opportunity, and you keep growing. Yeah.
It's almost like you kind of like dissociate yourself a little bit and just like see it as just like you said, opportunity, and you don't let the negativity in.
You got to shut out the noise.
Yeah.
You have to, because there's going to be people, even, if someone tells you you're not good enough, right, and you believe it, then you're not good enough. But if someone tells you you're not good enough, but you believe you are, then I'm a firm believer that you are good enough, if you believe it. Because if you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else?
Right.
Right? It's simple as that.
No one should.
Exactly. If you don't even believe in yourself, if you don't believe you can accomplish something that you set out to do, why even take a step towards that goal? You have to believe it first. If you believe it, then you'll be able to have the passion. You're going to kind of bring it into reality. Visualize it, and you'll attain it.
So curious, what's your experience like with Aspire? Because you're going to be in the community working with people that might not be fully developed in their mindset, physical, emotional, mental health. So what's that experience going to be like or has been for you when you encounter someone that you could kind of tell that they might be struggling or they might be surrounded by negativity? Like, what advice would you give to them?
I mean, it's kind of, there's a couple different prong approach you can take and it depends on that individual, right? If I'm hosting an event, right, and there's kids that came out and they're excited to either meet me or just be a part of the event, one thing you can do is just give them your time. And I learned that from my parents, right? My mom and my dad, in tough times when I had struggles or when I didn't know what to do, or if I was starting to go down the wrong path with bad friends or something, they would just give me their time. You don't have to tell them anything.
To listen.
Exactly. Showing them, I'm a firm believer that actions speak louder than words, right? So if I'm there, if I'm being present with you, showing you that, hey, I believe in you, man. I don't have to say anything. It's like, hey, I believe in you, kid.
Just your presence kind of gives them the support.
You'd be like, oh, good job. Nice. They may not have that at home. Not everyone's lucky enough to have two parents and a brother who love them, right? Some guys grow up with no parents or a dad that's gone or a mom that doesn't show or, so just being there, giving someone your time and your energy, that goes a very long way. And I think that's very kind of undervalued, right? Mm-hmm. And then the next thing is you want to build people up. I think that's big. Build up the confidence by just telling someone something good about themselves.
Just the positives.
Easy, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, great job. Man, you're fast. Good job. Mm-hmm. Let's run. Oh, my God, you're fast. That little statement, depending on who it comes from, and if the kid trusts you or if someone trusts you, will go a very long way for that kid to start believing, oh, my God, I'm fast.
And now
they'll think I'm fast. I'm fast, and then they start to believe it. And like we just said, you have to believe. The individual has to believe it. And then they can start to see the right things and go down the right path.
The interesting thing is when you're saying you're fast, you're not just saying, oh, you're good and being general about it. You're like saying a specific attribute of them that builds their character. And you're telling them the truth.
Yep.
They are fast, know? So
and
it's
just pointing it out.
But they could have 100 other flaws, quote unquote,
Focus on the good. Focus on the good all the time. And I think hopefully, at these events and the events that we've held, kids see it through me and kind of my energy and what I put out there. Because if I'm not living it, I'm just talking, smack then, if that's the case. You got to live it. You got to be a man of action. Because action creates momentum. Momentum creates success.
Learn by example.
Exactly, right? So, hey, if you watch me and I'll show you. Mm-hmm. I'll show you how to do it, right?
Yeah,
and stay persistent, keep working hard. So, I think just build people up and give them your time. Like I said, that's the biggest thing. Because time is literally the only thing we cannot get back, right? So if you're willing to spend that with someone, and I think people subconsciously know that. That's why I think the time I spend with my parents, the time I spend with my brother, the time I spend with my friends, to me is so important because I consciously think about it. But I think every human being within themselves subconsciously knows how valuable time is. So if you're spending your time with someone, subconsciously that registers, right? So they start to know it. And maybe eventually, consciously, they'll realize that and be like, oh, I am worth something if this person's spending so much time with me. I am doing good.
Wow.
So
that's super insightful. And they're at the same time learning through example.
Exactly.
And just the energy of you being there is...
Feeling the energy.
Yeah.
So it's all-encompassing,
Wow.
and I think that's the best approach you could possibly take.
So what happens in the past, in your past experience, I'm sure... you've encountered negativity or negative people, quote unquote, again. So what's that experience like for you?
I ignore the noise, ignore the naysayers, right?
Has that happened before?
Oh, yeah. It happens all the time. Mm-hmm. Haters, right? That's what the kids are calling them these days. And the cool thing, and it's going to sound funny, but hate to me is just another form of love, right?
They're hurting.
Exactly. So it's like, you can hate on me, man. It's cool. I'm not going to give any energy towards it. Mm-hmm. And usually, like, on social media is a perfect place for people to troll and hate on other people, right? And it happens all the time to me. And I'll usually reply with something super positive. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, sorry you feel that way, my man. I'm pulling for you. Keep grinding. I know you'll get where you want to be. And then it's like, what? Mm-hmm. I just said this guy looks like a girl with long hair, and it's like, then it rattles them and they're like, I don't even know what to do now. But yeah, I always try to meet that with some positivity because look, they obviously either did it for attention or did it because they don't like me, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, that's fine. No, not everyone's going to like me, and that's fine with me. I'm okay with that. So...
Nice. So we've heard a lot about your just beginning, middle, and mindset, like where you came from, your upbringing, the experience that you've had through college, football, lacrosse, almost hockey.
Yeah.
So now moving forward, what kind of impact do you want to, I know you talked about it a little,
Yep.
but we're kind of getting there again. So what kind of impact do you want to have? Your vision is huge. You're saying globally. So like globally on that scale, what impact could you see or do you want to have?
As big as I can. You know, I literally want to impact as many people as I can. And I know it's said, and people say that all the time. I'm only one man, right? So I can only do so much. I can only be in so many places. But that's why through social media, it's such an awesome tool for us in this place where we're at now, where you can impact a lot of people.
Yeah, you make one post, it's sent out everywhere.
Exactly. And that's why, and it's essentially your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
The life that you're living, or the life that you want people to perceive you're living, whatever it may be.
It could be authentic, it could be
exactly
fake.
And at the end of the day, I think people resonate more with authenticity, right? Because if you fake it, eventually it's going to
catch up.
Exactly. And people are going to be like, oh, that guy's just a jerk, or whatever it is. So I try to spread positivity through social media, through the interactions people have with me on social media. But more importantly, when I'm face-to-face with people, I try to let them feel my energy, give them the time, and allow them to kind of get a taste of what I'm like, you know, as a person, as a man.
Instead of behind the screen.
Exactly. Because I feel like that's becoming a lost art, right? Like face-to-face interaction.
Conversation.
People being so immersed in tech, right? Technology, that it's like that's what people are interacting with, when spending time with another human being is important. Being able to look someone in the eye, read their body language, you know, those things are important. So
yeah, and it's definitely being lost. Wow.
So, like I said, I want to impact as many people as I can. And I think through the endeavors that I've chosen, the supplement company, the Thrilla Nation, if you will, the media that I put out, and then the nonprofit organization, I should have a fairly good reach, you know, because I'm with the supplement company, I'm trying to provide a product that answers most your questions when it comes to supplementation, right? And we're trying to develop more products that are even more advanced and ahead of the curve.
And this all just started you maybe in the kitchen.
Yeah, and you know, and trying things out on myself. It's X equals 1. I was my own experiment. You know,
That's
like
awesome.
I'm trying things, seeing how I react to it, seeing how I perform, and reading a bunch of case studies and tests that are done, and a lot of scientific jargon, trying to understand it. Business administration and marketing degree. I'm not a scientist, right? But then just talking to people and seeing how certain ingredients make them feel. What is their ideal? What is their must-haves? What could they get rid of? A lot of market research, you know, and then I just from there developed a product that I think could help a lot of people. You know, if you don't know what to take, don't take the stuff that is like super bright packaging that's like Jack 5D and it's got like methamphetamine in it, like crazy stuff. If you can't read the ingredients or understand them, just Google them, see what they are, right? And I also think artificial dyes and colors, people will learn, are more detrimental to health than what it is right now. Just like preservatives are, just like they found out MSG was bad. You know, it's like they're going to find out that artificial dyes and colors are bad. You know, it's like just a matter of time. Like Juul Gang, people doing Juuls and vaping. It's like one day they're going to find out that stuff's not good. But
it's like listening to your conscience and just kind of like feeling that out. Like if it feels wrong while you're doing it, then maybe it is. Yeah. You know? Just
listen. Your body knows. The human body is an amazing tool. It'll tell you. It'll tell you.
So just to get into your experience a little bit, like day in the life of like your diet.
Yeah.
What's that like?
So I've dabbled with intermittent fasting for the last probably 5-6 years. So just from the
So what is intermittent fasting?
intermittent fasting is when you go a certain amount of time without eating. So you have a specific eating window. Let's say the most common is like a 16-hour fast every day, right? So my last meal, let's say I finish eating at 4 p.m. 16 hours from 4 p.m. I can eat again, right? So there's 24 hours in a day. You have
literally almost a whole day.
Exactly. You have an 8-hour eating window where you can get your breakfast, lunch, and dinner in, or just your lunch and dinner.
Okay.
I like big meals. I like to train fasted in the morning. So
You're lighter.
Exactly, lighter. And the type of training I do, it's better for, because I'm conditioning at a very high rate. So if I eat a big meal or if I eat anything, it could come out. Because I'm doing high intensity interval training. I'm doing strength work. I'm getting after it in the gym because I have to be able to perform on field. So my first meal is usually around 1 o'clock, and that's post-workout. So I do carb cycling too, just to maintain leanness and body composition. So post-workout, I have a higher number of carbs, so anywhere from like 100 to 150 grams of carbohydrates. And then 3-4 hours later, I'll eat another big meal, which will usually be my dinner. And usually 2 meals a day suffices for me. But if I'm still hungry, I'll eat again. And I'm a firm believer that you want to eat things as close to their form and nature as possible.
So like plant-based diet kind of thing?
Yeah, eat a ton of plants, eat meat, eat carbohydrates, not refined carbohydrates, and stay away from sugar. So
what's your idea of non-refined?
Non-refined carbohydrates, potatoes, white potatoes, sweet potatoes, rice, things of that nature. So as far as a carbohydrate's concerned, I ate a lot of white potatoes, sweet potatoes. I ate a lot of white and brown rice. So just because once you start diving into pasta, once you start diving into, it's super refined. And the more things are processed, the further away they are from what your body recognizes as nutrients, right? So if you're eating bleached pasta, come on. It's like, or enriched, it's like, oh, they bleached it, then tried to inject nutrients into it. And
How
now
nutritious can that be?
My body doesn't know what it is because for the last million years, we've ate rice or we've ate potatoes in their natural form. So my gut biome's going to get all jacked up. They don't know what it is. They don't know how to break it down. So
super mindful in your diet.
Yeah, and try to eat high quality food too. So like grass-fed meats, cage-free chickens, things of that nature. So because look, we are what we eat, but what we eat is what they eat, right? So if you're eating a cow that just eats corn and it's not a proper diet, not good nutrition, that meat that we get from the cow is going to be tainted, right? Wow. Because they're not eating grass, they're not getting the phytonutrients that they need. So it's just kind of empty. And you'll see a lot of studies have been produced around that where that meat is high in omega-6 fatty acid, which if you eat enough omega-3s isn't necessarily a bad thing. But that fatty acid causes systematic inflammation throughout the body, right? And what's omega-3 fatty acid? It's just another fatty acid you get from like fatty fish, like salmon, macadamia nuts, things of that nature. So you would have to eat a ton of that to balance those back out, if you follow. So it's just like I'm big into nutrition because as an athlete, like I said, I got to know what I put into my body because what I put in is what I get out. So
you have so much knowledge and wisdom surrounding like the stuff that you're doing with your life. How was school like for you?
School
you're constantly like studying and gathering information about this stuff. What's school like for you?
School was a lot of. It was fun, but from a young age, I've wanted to be a business owner. I saw my dad do it, right? And I saw him have success at it and him kind of determine his own schedule. You know, his work is seasonal, so he does a lot of paperwork in the winters, but he's home. Like, he can do as he pleases. He goes on road trips, you know, so like,
seeing that, you're like,
I'm like, wow, the freedom to be able to do that is awesome, right? Yeah. He's not grinding it out 9 to 5. Yeah, he works really hard to allow him that opportunity, and he's built something over the past 25 years. So I always was inspired to do something along those lines too. So I was passionate about learning how to run a business. So business administration, easy. You know, I enjoyed it. Marketing's fun, you know. And the marketing I do is like creating content for companies and kind of creating a brand profile for the supplement company and kind of what Thrilla Nation represents and the Aspire project. I've always been kind of artistic and wanting to create, right? So on field, I create with my gameplay, right? Like, I create a persona.
It is an art.
I create a persona where I'm a big, strong, physical defender, and I do things to show people that. Off the field, I try to create with my businesses. You know, everyone who owns a business has essentially created their own world, and they can determine how that business is run. They can determine how much work they put in, how much they don't, and they can determine essentially the success of that little world of what you created. So I always am super excited to go down paths where I'm able to create, whether it's content, whether it's on field, whether it's business. So I think the biggest thing, just to kind of circle back, is passion. You know, school was easy because I'm passionate about that. Like, I'm passionate about football. Not so much football or lacrosse or any sport in particular. It's passion about what sport reveals to an individual. Right?
The self-expression of it.
Exactly. And when it's a 99-yard drive in college football and I'm playing defense and we have a goal line stand and it's like, I'm beat, I'm tired, I'm going against another man, like, am I going to be able to dig down and win this battle, this one-on-one battle, and make the tackle, you know? Or something as simple as that. It's like, shows you the character of who you are, even in training. You know, like, there's a saying, a champion's the one who works when no one's watching, right? And I believe that. That was spray painted on the wall in Strength and Motion, and I would always go to that platform to train, whether it be hang cleans, because I would watch that, or I would read that quote, and it just is ingrained in my head, right? So when no one else is watching, what are you doing? Because that's who you really are.
Yeah, because
right?
no outside external forces.
You're not putting on a show. You're not acting a certain way. It's just you and you, right? So when I'm training, when I'm running hills at Corcoran High School and it's just me and it's a summer day with 99% humidity, I can't breathe, am I the guy who's going to run an extra hill? Run maybe 2, maybe 3?
When no one's watching.
Run maybe till I can't? And that's what builds character. Yeah. And that's what kind of shows you who you are as a man or woman.
You have a lot of intrinsic drive pushing you forward, and you're able to live your life authentically based around the business and brand that you've created. Giving other people advice that are looking to go down this path. Again, this path might not be for everyone.
Yep.
It takes tremendous amount of work, effort, time, mindset building, introspection, all these different components. But giving advice to anyone out there who wants to go down this path, what would you give them as far as maybe like the authenticity part of it, vision? It's freeform, whatever. Yeah,
I mean, the best advice I can give is, I mean, I'll give you a couple. Be adaptable, right? Because it's not going to go as planned. Adversity is going to come, and you're going to have to adapt to that adversity, adapt to overcome that adversity, and continue moving forward. There's going to be setbacks along the way, right? So be adaptable is probably the first piece of advice. Second is prepare for adversity, right? You know it's going to happen. So in your daily life, start to create habits that give you mental toughness. That's as simple as waking up when your alarm goes off the first time, not hitting the snooze button, right? And being like, I got 5 more minutes, I'm tired, right? That's mental toughness. You got to get up when that goes off. You get up. It's as simple as just opening your eyes and sitting on a bed. Or it's something as simple as being punctual, being on time. That's another form of mental toughness. Or it's the best form of mental toughness training I like is that if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. Simple as that, right? I don't create an excuse of why I can't. I don't create an excuse of, hey, this came up, can't do it, oh, sorry. No. If you say you're going to do something, do it. That helps build mental toughness. So, 1, be adaptable. 2, prepare for adversity by creating that mental toughness. Now, 3, everyone's going to tell you this, you have to work hard, right? But I'm going to take it a step further. Work hard, but choose things you're passionate about. If you're going to get into this line of kind of working from where you want, trying to create a persona or trying to do what you want, you need to be passionate about it or it's going to fizzle out, right? Like Motivation Mondays, 1 day a week. That motivation ain't going to last all week, right? If you're passionate, that's where you create that intrinsic fire. And the more that you're able to do towards that passion, that fire builds, right? It gets bigger until nothing's going to stop that fire, right? You can't put that fire out.
Your mind is sharp as a tack, and you're able to just like rattle off these examples and ideas so quickly. Like literally, it's amazing.
Well, I appreciate it, brother. Thank you. Thank you.
So you're telling us do this, advice and everything like that. But at the same time, it's introspection, like intrinsic value, figuring out yourself. Like, how the heck? Like, okay, so intrinsic value, bringing that out of you. Like, how did you do that from experience? Did you go through, like, long, maybe existential crisis or, like, introspective period? Because you're talking all the time now. Because you know yourself, who you are. So it's like, okay, before you can get to knowing who you are, you have to go through a phase of learning and, like, developing. So, like, what was that like for you?
It's people often overlook your little daily decisions, right? And from once I got to start playing college football, I realized that mindset is everything. We would get there August 1st before anyone else in college would get there. We would have conditioning. We would have 2-a-days where it became like we'd have morning practice, full pads, colliding with, and I was 18 at college, colliding with a 22-year-old fifth-year senior who's 3 times the size of me, right, and got man strength when I'm a little boy out of high school. So getting beat up, basically, going through the ringer. Then we would have lunch. Then we would train. We would work out, more conditioning. Then we would have an evening session of more stuff. And this was for 15, 16 days straight without a break. I began to realize that mindset going into each and every situation was paramount, right? So not so much like, oh my God, I have practice again, which guys would do. They wouldn't perform well. They would be like, oh my God, I have practice. My body hurts, right? I realized
this is college level.
This is Division I college football.
And people are still slacking.
Guys are like, oh man, I don't. No, I went into everything like I'm so pumped I got an opportunity to compete. I'm excited, right? And, you know, one of my college coaches, he only coached us, I think, for like a year. He moved on, and he wasn't very well liked, but he said, you know, fake enthusiasm goes a long way because people will eventually think it's real, or maybe you'll trick yourself and you'll be enthused yourself. So he was big about like jumping around, and I thought about that, and I don't think fake enthusiasm is cool. It's actually annoying to me.
Because it's superficial.
People feel that, right? But creating real enthusiasm, that's important. How do you create real enthusiasm? Instead of saying like, oh man, I have to do this, say, oh man, I get to do this.
Oh, being grateful.
Oh man, I get to go to practice. I get to be a Division I football player. I get to practice with my teammates. I get to play in this game. I get to work out, right? And start to change that. Like, I get to condition today. Nice. I'm going to get better.
Get pumped
I get
about
to
it.
get better, right? Even now when I do that, I get goosebumps. I get fired up because I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So.
And you would tell yourself that dialogue all the time.
All the time. Even now, like I tell myself, like, oh, I get to go talk to the kids at Fulton on career day, right? Like, this is cool. I could impact some kids. I could change some lives. Like, I get to do this. This is fun, right? I get to drive to Canada. I get to play, right? I get to play lacrosse on Sunday.
That's gonna take you far.
Other people are like, man, I got a game on Sunday. I was hoping to go to work on Monday. I'm going to be all beat up. You can't think like that. You got to change the mindset, change the perspective, be grateful for what you have because everyone has something, even if it's the littlest thing. If you're a homeless guy, I get to eat today if you find some food. I get to sleep tonight, even if you're sleeping on under a bridge, right? You get to sleep. You could be dead. You could not know what you're getting because you're dead. So you be grateful for the opportunities you have, and then reflect, right? I go through a lot of different things. The only reason that mindset came to me was because I was reflecting. How do I get better? What will make me enjoy this more? How do I find happiness? Ask yourself simple questions, and if you're quiet...
But they're deep.
Yeah, and if you're quiet and you sit there and you think, it's a form of meditation, right?
Oh, yeah,
and you
definitely.
just sit there and you start to think, the answers will come. Because subconsciously, the human mind knows, right? The human heart knows, the human soul knows. Because our ancestors have been doing it for millions of years, right? They know. The body knows. What you got to do is block out all this noise. Block out the Instagram, block out the YouTube, block out the Netflix and chill, and give yourself time to be with yourself. Because that's when you're going to start to realize who you are as a person, what you're passionate about, and how you can impact the most people. But if you're just constantly going, like scrambling, trying to, oh, I got to do this, oh, I got to do that, I got to do this, I got to do that.
I get to do this.
I get to do this, I get to do that. I even get to sit alone by myself and give myself time, right? I get to meditate. Those are it's a very powerful phrase.
Wow.
You can either beat yourself up, say, oh my God, I got to be here, I got to be there, I got to do this. That creates stress. That releases cortisol in the brain. That's a recipe for disaster, right? But if you're saying, oh, I get to do this, I get to do that, then it's more positive. It's creating serotonin. It's making you happy. It's making you create good energy, right? Being grateful, there's a lot to be said for being grateful.
That's huge. Never heard it explained like that before. And we're living in a world with so much noise, so much social media, so much, this is how you should do this is how you should do that. And yeah, that's great and all, but the ones that have gotten to the point of saying, this is how you should do this how you should do that, are also the same people that have figured it out themselves. Like you shut out the noise, you listen to your inner voice, and you got to where you are today. And yes, it's good to spread these ideas to get people initially in action, but then going on to say the second half, which is you find the answers yourself.
Yep.
It's almost like the motivation is needed to get your ass out of the couch, but then once you're out, it's like this is the reality of it. You have to figure it out on your own.
Exactly. Motivation doesn't last, right?
No.
Passion does.
And everyone's chasing after it.
Yeah, they think that this next post or this next video they see or this next whatever it is going to be the thing that drives them over the edge. When really they have it
Comes
already.
within.
It's inside you. Look inside, reflect, be very thoughtful, right? Use the thought. Power of thought is what separates humans from everything else on the planet, right? So use that and tell yourself the things that you need Tell yourself the things you need to know. Give yourself time. If you can't give yourself time, the time you give to everyone else doesn't matter. Because if you're healed, if you're good, if you're in a great spot, the time you spend with other people is going to be much better.
Because you can't give if you don't have anything in there. And if you're burnt out and there's dead inside, then what do you have to give?
I mean, if you can't take care of yourself, right? It's what makes you think you can take care of other people or help other people. You got to help yourself first. I'm a firm believer in that. I've seen people who try to help all these other people, right, without helping themselves. They're hurting, they're depressed, and it's like you see some of the greatest comedians of all time kill themselves because they're depressed. Right? These are guys who provide laughter and happiness to millions of people.
Robin Williams.
Exactly. He was depressed. I think if he would have taken care of himself, he'd still be helping everyone. So,
well, that's a thought.
Take care of the home first. Take care of the body. Take care of the mind, the soul, the spirit, and you'll impact so many more people.
Damn. Glad to have you, man.
Yeah, I appreciate
Fuck
the time, brother.
Give me a hug.
Yeah, bring it in.
That was sick.
yeah.
How'd that feel?
It felt good, brother. It felt good. Definitely.
Yeah,
this was
that's
awesome.
A powerful message.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, it's important, and I think in this world, especially right now, the noise, man, there's so much noise. It's awesome because technology is so fast, rapidly growing, rapidly advancing. Like social media, you can connect with people from all over the world. I get people from literally every continent in the world DMing me like, oh, hey, like I use Google Translate now more than any other app because people are just hitting me up from all over.
Wow.
And it's
really?
Like, I'll respond. I'll take the time to respond. But at the same time, that's very dangerous, because you're spending so much time and you get preoccupied with all the noise. You get pulled away from what you really should be doing, the real mission of your life.
The reason why you did it.
Exactly. So really setting limits on that stuff is important. And I think more people will learn that.
It's almost like all of the noise out there, it causes someone who doesn't have this mindset to devalue themselves.
100%. Because now you're comparing yourself to the entire world with social media, right? There's billions of people on social media, when before, let's say in our parents' generation, they would walk around, they would compare themselves to the people they see. They would compare themselves to their friend groups, right? And it starts to become a dangerous downward spiral the more people you compare yourself to. Comparison is the thief of joy. So
it's a high.
Exactly.
Short-lived.
And it's like, and if you're not better than that person, then you're beating yourself up. But what matters about being better than someone else? Nothing, right? It's just our ego. It's essentially the ego saying, oh, you're better than him. Oh, you can judge him. You're judging them, and then you're telling yourself you're better than them just to make yourself feel better. You should already feel good inside. You shouldn't need that to feel good. Why? Because you've done the work, the intrinsic work that you need to do to find out what type of man or woman you are, right? And once you do that, then you don't need that. You don't need the ego. You don't need the this, that. My point being...
And you can't even compare at that point because you're so different. You're so unique.
It's like you don't even think of that. That doesn't even become a thought. Right. It's like, oh, wow. Hey, great to meet you. Great. Like you feel their energy. It's like, oh, cool. Yeah, whatever. You vibe with them and it's like, oh, moving on. It's not like, oh, man, he's got the newest Jordans on. Like, I don't have those. Yeah. I got to go get them now. And that's noise. But now think about it from our parents' generation to right now. I pick up my phone. I can compare myself to millions of people just by scrolling. Right? So I think it's a great thing, but it's also very dangerous because younger kids have millions of people to compare themselves to
at such a young age
without doing any work, right? No one's taught them that, like, hey, you do matter. You are cool. You are, you don't need that other stuff. It's all materialistic stuff. So
understanding like the unique characteristics that one has before comparison, because everyone, there's something about them that makes them different.
Yep.
Even just their face.
Yep.
And looking at them, like your face looks nothing like anyone else out there.
Yep.
So think, you know? And that alone is, you know, that's different. That's powerful too.
It's unfortunate that people don't realize the value of like self-work and the value of their own self-worth.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, it's like I said, it's a dangerous spiral to go down because you have access to everything at the palm of your hand, right? And without knowing yourself, it's like, whoa, you can go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You can. I think that's why people nowadays are just like
depressed.
Yeah, not only depressed but feel disconnected. This is the most connected the world's ever been, and people feel the most disconnected because they're not having conversations face to face. They're not being their real self, right? So if you're not your real self, you're not connected to yourself. How do you expect to connect with anyone else? You're disconnected. You're putting on a facade for your YouTube channel, right? Your vlog or whatever it is you do. You're tweeting out thoughts that may not be true to yourself, right?
Just for the attention.
You don't even know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
So how could you feel connected? If you're not connected to yourself, you can't connect with anyone else.
Wow, that's huge. It's like a double-edged sword, though, because like you, that knows who you are intrinsically, it's a powerful tool.
Yep.
It's not the end of your demise, so to speak, you know, and it could be, you know, and you always see that too, that balance of like, oh yeah, I'm spreading myself, and I might be spreading myself too thin with social media, emailing and stuff, and then you're mindful enough, aware to know when to come back to square one.
Yep.
Yeah, it's hard. It's super hard work too. Because like you have to constantly run that dialogue in your head of like, why am I doing this? What is this for? Who am I?
Yeah.
It's not, and people might think that it's like an end goal. Like self-awareness is something that like you work on for 5 months and then bam, you're self-aware.
It. Yourself. Yeah. It's not that. Same with mental toughness. You know, you got to constantly, like I said, what you do with every daily decision determines the type of man you are. Right? And how you react to every adversity. So, for instance, my girlfriend, right? I could be having a bad day. I come home and I take it out on her, right? Or I take it out on my dog, or I take it out on my brother. You know? Yeah, it happens all the time, right? Now, if I do that consistently over the course of a year, is that just another flare-up? Is that just another accident? Or is that the man I've become?
Wow.
Each daily decision you make determines the type of man you are. So yeah, it could happen once. You could have a really bad day, take it out on somebody. That doesn't mean that's the man you are.
Mm.
The next day, if you do it again, it might mean that's the man you're becoming. Next day you do it again, now that's just you. But if you can reflect, that's why reflection's so important. When you go through adversity, when you fail, the most successful people in the world reflect because they don't want to make that mistake again, or that mistake with their mental toughness, they realize that mistake is what's preparing them for success, right? So now you reflect, you're like, oh, that's why that didn't work out. Well, I won't make that mistake again. Or it allows you to see a different perspective. But the mental approach, the mental toughness, like I said, mental toughness is a daily thing. Just like you were talking about with self-awareness. That's a daily thing. You have to be vigilant in it and consciously think about it, because eventually it becomes second nature. But it takes a very long time.
The negativity could become the second nature in itself too. So you're talking about like you putting out maybe negativity because you had a hard day, but also it's like an incoming game too. Like let's say your girlfriend or your dog is like pissing you off too, or like spreading some negativity, and it's like trying to filter that out, and it's like trying to stay mentally tough to block out that too and spin it into a positive.
Yep. And like I said a little bit earlier, we're 10% of what happens to us. 90% how we react.
And we always have the control.
That's what you got to realize. If you're mad, you decide to be mad. If you're
They
happy,
didn't make you mad.
No. They could do whatever. I could get punched in the face, right? And yeah, I would likely be upset. I could be mad, or I could just brush it off, and even metaphorically punched in the face from the people on, let's say, haters, naysayers, people who say, you suck, you're terrible, I don't even know why you play. Or people who are like, oh, you're ugly, you're this, you're that, I don't believe in you, whatever it is, right? Those are essentially metaphorical punches in the face, punches at your pride, punches at your ego. You're choosing.
And it's going to happen.
Oh, it's guaranteed to happen. Adversity is guaranteed to happen. That's just another form of adversity.
But it's just energy that you can change.
Exactly. So now you flip that, use it as motivation, right? You're not going to make it. You may be right, but I'll prove you wrong.
Or
Simple
just
as
totally block yourself out and be like,
block it out.
I don't have anything to prove. I'm just doing it for myself.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's fucking amazing. I fucking love you, man.
Appreciate it, brother. Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah.
This is good.
Yeah.
Love this.
A lot of fun, man. A lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Is this what you expected? What
No,
were your thoughts?
I had no expectation, I was just like, let's do it. I always say I one of the things, like another takeaway, if you will, is say yes to any cool opportunity that comes your way and figure it out as you go. Like just-in-time knowledge is always better than just-in-case knowledge. There's been times in business where I've been in a bind, right? And you would think it would be like, man, I wish I knew this, But really, it's like,
it's intuitive.
Well, not only that, I can figure it out.
Oh, okay.
Having that confidence where it's like, I can figure this out. That you can read a book in a day. True. You can search the internet in seconds at your fingertips, right? So you don't necessarily need to spend all your time gaining as much knowledge as possible to...
It's knowing how to find it.
Knowing how to find it, and then being confident enough in yourself to know you can find it, right? And
it's
understanding that, understanding you can find the knowledge. Like this, being open to opportunity. When you reached out, I was like, yeah, that'd be cool. Let's do it.
And you might have not even heard about us ever.
No, I didn't. But I was like, cool opportunity. Let's do it. It's something I'm interested in.
And you're constantly busy.
Yeah.
And you're giving us that you've never heard the opportunity.
Yeah.
So we get to have this conversation. Exactly. But you were thinking the same thing too. Like you get to have this conversation.
Exactly. It's like I said, man. I always will have a conversation with someone, as a form of opportunity, or even just sit down and have a little powwow, because you never know what can come from it. People are so consumed with, I'm running out of time, I'm busy, I'm this, I'm that. But what you prioritize gets the time, right? I prioritize my family. I prioritize my mom, my dad, my brother, the people I care about over everything else, like business. Because at the end of the day, what do we really have?
Who's at your deathbed?
Right? And how do they remember you? Right? If your brother's always calling you and he's like, hey, I just wanted to talk to you, right? I just want to talk to you. He's dead, or I die. It's like, no, I want to be there for the people who are there for me. And at the end of the day, business, right? If all my businesses fail, who's really going to care? Right? Like, it doesn't matter,
As sad as it is, like, you could have 1 million followers, and if you died a week later, 99% of them aren't even going to remember.
Yeah. Not only that, it's like the things that matter are relationship, right? In this life, in this kind of this journey that we're all taking as human beings, relationship matters, right? Not so much like making money. You can't have a relationship with money. Yeah, money's awesome. Like having a ton of it allows you the freedom to do whatever you want, which is really cool. But at the same time, having that relationship with people is much more valuable than any business, any monetary thing you can buy, any material thing you can get, because everyone's unique, right? You can always buy a new pair of shoes, you can always buy a new car, you can always buy a jet, you can always buy this, you can always buy that, but you can't buy a person, I mean, you can. I'm sure it's highly illegal or something, but at the end of the day, it's the relationships that I think fulfill people's soul. The give back, right? Like if you've ever served at like a food kitchen, and I mean, I don't know, but
just out of love.
yeah, it's like for me that gets me going. Like I'm fired up. Like even just having a conversation with people, giving them the time, it's like that's awesome. So,
Damn.
it's about relationship. So,
Yeah, definitely.
I didn't know what to expect, but I was fired up to come check it out, man. So thanks for having me.
And same thing with me, like going into this interview, I get nervous every time, you know, I do, because I don't plan anything.
Yep.
It's just, I want to be authentic, I want to let you speak and me make the connections as we go, because this is a story that we're creating.
Yep.
And like, if I sit there and I'm like, oh, these are the questions I'm going to read off, it's artificial at that point, you know?
And it's very rigid, you know,
Yeah.
there's no free flow, which is, I think, better.
And this is what it's about, self-expression.
Yeah.
Because then people get you, who cares about other people in this sense, you get to express who you are. That's the goal of this, you know? Unlock your truth, you know?
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like, it can be communicated
Yeah.
on social media and whatnot.
Yeah.
But, like, yeah, definitely. That's huge. Because a lot of, like, especially with entrepreneur work, we get so caught up in the day-to-day grind.
It's a grind, man.
That it's so easy to just go a day without having the introspection or reflection. And, I mean, you seem like you find that balance.
I start the morning with it. Every
meditation.
Morning. Yeah. I do a form of yoga, you know, and which is meditation with breath work, and that's what I've found works for me. It may not work for everybody, but if I start my day that way, I typically have a pretty good day, you know, and that's what I've learned. And even training for me now is a form of meditation or shutting everything else out. I've done it so long that it's like a passion of mine. It's something I get to do where I can just focus on me, you know, the connection of me and my body, my mind, pushing myself. So it doesn't have to be you sitting there with incense and candles lit, fingers crossed and legs crossed and
the superficial
humming.
doesn't matter. It's what's going on in here.
It's just a thought process. It's consciously bringing out what the thoughts are that you're having. Consciously bring out the subconscious, right? So think about the things that your body is in tune with, but you don't think about, right? So like, what am I passionate about? Well, what do I enjoy doing? What does my body gravitate towards? What does, even food, like what do I want to eat? What does my body crave? So, like I said, the body knows, the mind knows, the soul knows. So,
and at the same time, even if like you're pitted up against adversity, you can always, if you have the mental toughness, figure out a way to flip it. Like you could have the most tyrannical parent in the world, but there's always positivity that comes out of that.
Yep.
Like even the negatives that come your way is almost, in a sense, more positive than the positive that we could be getting because of how, like you said, more pressure, more creates diamonds.
Yeah, pressure creates diamonds, baby.
And it's so interesting to hear all of like the rags to riches stories of like these successful people. Well, we don't really know what their inner work is like unless we talk to them, but like if we're gauging the success that they have to the inner work that has been built, it's interesting to hear them going through all of these tragedies and still coming out strong, you know, not killing themselves.
Yeah, that's adversity though. Adversity makes or breaks you, right? And that it comes down to perspective, mindset, how you go into it, and how you perceive it.
And that perspective's within.
Yep. It's a conscious thought process. So anytime I face adversity, it's conscious. Like I know adversity when it's coming your way.
Stress, anxiety, fear.
It's just a matter of now consciously, I like to face it with gratitude, right? The most of the stuff. But then realizing what it's going to help me become.
Oh, okay.
And seeing like, wow, this is going to make me a lot tougher. I get to overcome this.
So as a side, given that you're always constantly doing inner work, is there any like inspiration out there that you look to, or you don't need to?
Oh, I think inspiration definitely helps. Reminding yourself of kind of what I'm constantly trying to learn. I'm constantly trying to learn new methods to better what I'm doing.
So maybe not necessarily like the person motivational talker, but more like just the knowledge, wisdom.
The techniques that the world's best are doing is what I'm trying to learn, right?
Okay.
And even from a training perspective, my buddy down in Florida, he's a really kind of a progressive trainer, and I FaceTimed with him last week, and I was like, hey, what's new? Like, what are you working on? I want to learn. And he showed me a bunch of new stuff with this steel mace that I've never really dabbled with before. But it's just pushing your limit, pushing your bounds, pushing your experiences. And the same thing, just putting yourself around people who are, I don't want to say better than you, but who know better certain things, who are experts in certain fields.
More knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. Or have been doing it longer, right?
That's so interesting.
I've just started to dive into like transcendental meditation because I read about it a bit. I've heard it's done great things for like Ray Dalio, who's a hedge fund investor I think he's got the most successful hedge fund ever. Tony Robbins dabbles in it. Guys who are like big time players in the world are doing it. So I read about it and it's like, okay, let me dive in here, see what it's about. And just trying to learn from all these people. The cool thing about the internet, I said earlier, you are who you surround yourself with. Cool thing about the internet is you can surround yourself with whoever you want. I can surround myself with Tony Robbins, right? I can watch his videos. I can read his tweets. I can see him on Instagram. I can watch his story. I can surround myself with Arnold Schwarzenegger, right? I can surround myself with whomever I want all the time because I have access. So what you consume becomes what you put out. So I'm constantly trying to consume from
things that match your style.
Exactly, and people who are doing it, people who live it, people who are authentic.
So it comes down to like your intentions of it, because like someone could have the intentions of like watching Tony Robbins because they want to become Tony Robbins, but you're almost like using the knowledge that other people have as like tools to like, you go to the buffet and you kind of like pick and choose what matches your palate.
What fits me.
Yeah.
What am I hungry for? What is going to feed my soul, right? And that's the thing. That's what we look for.
Instead of letting the outside define who we are.
Yeah.
As a follower, you're a leader in yourself, That's huge.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Bill, for being on the show. You're an amazing role model, and the motivational sentiment you brought to our show definitely won't go unnoticed. Everyone, go give him a follow at Thrilla96 on Instagram to keep up to date with all things Bill is doing and the Thrilla Nation. For anyone who's new to the show, we are BOHO HOBO. You can find us at BOHO_HOBO_ on Instagram and Twitter, and then BOHO HOBO for Facebook and YouTube. Website is BOHOHOBOLifestyle.com. So as we stated last episode, we have started a blog, and Kyle just dropped a new blog post this week titled, "What the Heck is a Self-Sufficient Lifestyle?" So if you've been listening to the podcast and you're curious about a little bit more detail into what it means to us to live a self-sufficient lifestyle, definitely check out this blog. It's a really good read, and it's very interconnected with all the other blogs that we've posted so far. So go check that out, and we will see you next time on BINDLISM, a philosophy to a self-sufficient lifestyle. Episode 22 is with Adam Jabber from Out of Bounds Podcast. Really excited for that one. So be on the lookout for episode 22, and we will see y'all next week.